You don't understand money. Where does money come from? How does money work? Why does it have value?
Right. So if someone were to say to me from absolute ground zero, how to get rich? All right, it's a good question. So I would say do two things. The first thing I would say you should do is develop a phone addiction. And you should develop a phone addiction, but you should refuse to consume content and only create content.
Genius.
So it doesn't, I will say right here, right now, I have a genuine phone addiction.
Me too.
9-10 hours a day screen time.
Me too.
I live on my phone. I'm on my phone. That's where the money is. So where else am I going to be? Right? I'm on my phone. You see me. I'm always just on my phone, right? I have a phone addiction, but I'm not consuming a bunch of crap, right? I'm producing on my Twitter account. I'm constantly tweeting. Doesn't matter if it's just tweets. Doesn't matter if it's TikToks. Doesn't matter if it's YouTube videos. Produce.
Yep.
If you spend all those waking hours producing, eventually people will pay attention to you.
Yes.
And we live in an attention economy.
Yep.
This is the economy we now live in. It's no longer about competence like it used to be. It's not even so much, it's about attention and it's about network. It's those two things. It's who you know and it's how many people pay attention to you. So if you develop a phone addiction and you refuse to consume and you only create, you'll start to attract attention sooner or later. And when you can do that, there's usually lots of different ways to monetize it. So if someone came to me and said, I have nothing, no skills, no money, nothing, and I had to get rich, I'd say that's what you should do. You should get a phone, develop a phone addiction, and you should start to create. Look at you guys. 6 months ago, you started to create something.
Yep.
Now here we are. Bang. You have to create things in the world we live in. You have to create things. When you create things, you'll get attention, and you can always find a way to monetize attention. Jake Paul has monetized attention.
Yes. Yep.
That's all he's done. He hasn't made his money being the best boxer. He's monetized attention. You have to find a way for people to pay attention to.
I'm trying to inspire your curiosity by highlighting your ignorance. And my goal is for you to have some agency as an individual and to sit and think, I should probably learn about these things because there's a very deep rabbit hole and there's lots to understand. And when you understand the money, you'll understand how this world works.
The number of people who come to me and say, Andrew, why are you fighting this fight? Why don't you just give up? As if I'm some kind of coward, as if that was ever an option for me. I'm sure for the average person that would be an option, but the average person wouldn't end up where I am. So no, I don't give up and I don't quit and I'm stubborn and you're gonna have to kill me because that's who I am. But the average person's like, if I had your money, I'd just buy a few houses around the world and I'd just go on holiday and sit on the beach. Showing that their mind is so empty. Well, all you're basically doing is telling me why you'll never have my money because you're an empty vessel. If you think sand and a cocktail is all it takes for happiness and fulfillment as opposed to struggle and war, well then you don't deserve riches. But this idea of having a few houses around the world, you don't own those houses. They are not yours. You can get any piece of paper you want saying you own that house. Piss off the government and you will see how quickly you lose that house and everything in it. All they have to do is assign PC Plod on his $33,000 a year to file a paper to go to some judge, along with all the other papers that judge has that day. They don't have time to look into any of it. They're just like, oh, okay, stamp. Before you know it, they turn up with guns and they take it off you. You don't own anything you can't defend, and you can't defend yourself against the government. You don't own anything. I think it's important for people to make money in a way that doesn't allow them to be canceled and controlled. It doesn't have to be e-commerce. It doesn't necessarily have to be online, although that's easier. But the main reason that they're going to control you is because you have to pay your mortgage and they're going to hit you financially. And so if you're working a job and they say take the vaccine, it's very hard for you to say no when you have a family to feed and a mortgage to pay. I would argue that a lot of people begrudgingly took it. I probably think the majority of people begrudgingly took it because they had bills to pay. So if you make money online, sure, it's harder to make you do that. But you don't necessarily have to make money online. You have to make money in a manner in which it's harder for the matrix to force you to do things you don't want to do.
There's plenty of free documentaries on YouTube. What I want you to do is to look up the gold standard and to understand the gold standard, the Bretton Woods system, quantitative easing. I want you to understand our current fiscal system. So when we next speak, you can tell me in a compendious and concise way how money works, where it comes from, why inflation is rampant, and why it's basically why the world is completely, because we don't control the money. We don't have any control over the money besides a few elites do. And they are deliberately making policy choices which allow the rich to get richer and the poor to get poorer. So then we can go into perhaps one of the possible solutions for these things, which is Bitcoin. You don't understand why Bitcoin exists, or why it's believed to be a safe hedge against inflation. You don't understand these things. If you understand money and where it comes from, then you'll understand inflation. Then you'll understand the scam of taxes. Then you'll understand from there why Bitcoin has value at all. And then that will lead you into CBDCs and how they're going to use that to control all of us and get to a point where all the money is digitally controlled, so you can't spend it on the things you want. So before that happens, I want you to research these things and understand them, because when you understand the money, you'll understand why all this in the world is happening.
And one of the things I try very hard not to do is become elitist. Because when you've come from the absolute bottom to the absolute top, and you've done it all off of your own back and hard work and dedication and never missing a day, the only shortcut to life is to never miss a day. One, because of compounding interest, and two, because sometimes you get lucky. And you'll never miss a lucky day if you try every day. If you don't try every day, you might miss your lucky day. And that's what people don't understand. If you never miss a day and you never don't try and you're always on time, was I late today? No, on time, and you try and improve every aspect of your life, and you're a professional, and you try and make sure that you analyze your decisions, you give yourself feedback, you don't make mistakes, you're not lazy. If you try and you make it to the top, you end up elitist, because you look at the people down below and you're like, well, why didn't you try? I did. Oh, I did too. No, you didn't. That's a lie. Now you're lying to me, and that annoys me. And you catch yourself being very elitist, and this is what's scary about it, because I'm from a Luton council estate, and now I have all this money. But if I meet somebody who's truly broke, I'm not talking about you not have hundreds of millions, but if I meet somebody who's broke, I think they're an idiot. And I catch myself going, is that bad? Am I elitist? Or do I sit down now and I just say, no, I started lower than you and beat you. How are you poor? You're lazy.
How did Andrew Tate go from 0 to a million to 10 that you're comfortable sharing and beyond?
Sure. I can give some general lessons,
Sure.
which I think perhaps are better. You make money by being perspicacious and indefatigable, and you have to find disruptive industries to a degree. You have to be in before everybody else. And I was involved in the webcam business long before it was mainstream and everybody else was doing it, which is why it was lucrative for me. I am from the streets. I'm from the ghetto, effectively. I'm from a very bad area of England. I grew up in a single mother household, and everyone around me was dealing drugs and each other and breaking into houses and stealing cars, and all I did was drive traffic to web pages. And I did what I had to do to get out. And now, based on my Islamic reversion, I'm not particularly proud of it, but it's one of those things, and you learn lessons along the way. And I know I haven't done bad to anybody. I don't know I shouldn't have to be sorry for it, because the people around me were doing far worse. That was one of the ways I made money.
Was that the first million?
No, was that the first million? I think I made $1 million before that, but turnover, and certainly not profit. Mm-hmm. But the first $1 million in profit, the $1 million I had in my bank, probably came a little bit after that. But it's amazing, I guess the overview lessons I'm going to give. It's actually amazing how general business strategy can apply to anything. It doesn't matter if you're running a webcam business, it doesn't matter if you're running a car wash. If you understand the realities of how money moves and you understand the realities of business, you'll always be successful. And you need to be able to apply yourself and work hard and all these things, the basic cliches that everybody understands. But I think in the world today, a lot of business has changed. And I'll be honest with you, I actually think we're entering a brand new stage of how money is generated. And I think that all of the old models of how money is generated are going to fall to the wayside pretty quickly. But we're entering a very interesting stage. And the reason I'm talking about this specifically is inside of my school, Hustles University, we teach artificial intelligence. And I think AI is going to come and wreck the majority of people in the next 10 to 15 years, maximum, maybe even 3 to 4 years if you're not implementing it in your business now. Mm-hmm. You need to be in AI early, like people got into crypto early. Crypto is a hard decision to make because it's a hard jump to make, but AI is an easy jump. And anyone who's not trying to build AI into their business right now, whether they're a plumber, whether they're a barista, you can name anything. There has to be a way to get artificial intelligence involved in the company you're currently running and learn how artificial intelligence works, because I think that's going to be the future of the people who truly make it and those who don't. I'll give you a very simple example. Let's imagine right now I had a sales team, and I had a sales team of 10 men. I would try to build my own version of ChatGPT or my own chatbot, or I'd be trying to make sure that the artificial intelligence mind knows what it needs to know to answer questions, and I would compare it against my lowest salesman, my worst salesman, to see how it does. Because firstly, it's free, effectively. Secondly, it never needs to sleep, it never needs holiday pay. And let's say it's only half as effective as my worst salesman. That's fine if you can feed it double the leads. If you can find leads now at low enough cost, you can make more money from a free machine than you can your lowest performing person.
And deal with the logistical complexity of management. Yeah.
Absolutely. So is that worth a try? Yes, because across the next 2 to 3 years, that machine is going to get better exponentially. Is the person who has been working for you for 10 years and is still your lowest salesman ever going to truly get better? Probably not. And I think getting in early and being involved in this disruptive industry at a point now where it's not mainstream is going to be the difference between the companies that survive into the future and those that don't. Because just like Bitcoin, when everybody starts doing it, a lot of the opportunity is going to disappear. And I think that it doesn't matter what industry you're thinking of getting involved in now or what you're thinking of doing, you should be looking at how you can use AI right now to make as much money as possible. And that's the advice I'm giving to people. Because I think the future is actually going to be people who can't make any money at all, and then people who know how to make the machines make money for them. That's where I think we're going to end up. Perhaps that's the future I'm betting on.
There's only 3 reasons you can't get rich in the world today, which is either you're stupid, you're lazy, or you're arrogant. And I find the most common one is lazy and arrogant. It's not stupid. There's nobody at home who is too stupid to become rich. I'm sure anyone watching this podcast right now, if you were to sit down next to me and I were to say, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, you could do it. Of course you could. But you're too lazy to learn how to do it yourself.
And you're too arrogant to listen.
And you're too arrogant to listen. It's not about being stupid. You're lazy or arrogant. It's one of the two. Those are the 2 most common factors of people. So when I meet people who have truly failed and they pretend to me that they didn't want to fail, I know they're one of the 3. And it's usually arrogant. Because when I sit and say to them, you could have got out, they don't say, you're right, I could have got out, I didn't try. That shows humility. They don't do that. They say, no, because it's excuse, someone else's fault, the Matrix's fault, no self-accountability. Oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about anyway. Arrogance.
Sounds like feminine mindset to me.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then they're going to lose.
Yeah.
So I catch myself being elitist, and I try very hard not to be because I don't consider myself a rich man. I'm a poor man with lots of money. And what's scary about being elitist is if I'm from a Luton council estate and I have a bunch of money now and I see the common man as a lazy idiot, imagine how the elites see it. And then you start to really go down the rabbit hole when you understand these people who've been in charge of the world for a very long time, who own the banks, who believe they're genetically superior to us because why not? Their families always own the bank. They can be a fat loser, but they just believe they're something because why not? They have a big boat. That's just what they're going to believe, isn't it? Imagine how they view the company. You think they give a shit about you or your family or your income or your wages? You think they care about you? Do you think they're going to make life easier for the common man in the next 10 years as you've just asked? Or are they going to continue to decimate your lifestyle for their own forever profit? There's no light without dark, which is a basic fundamental law of the universe which can't be broken. And especially as these large companies want forever profits, which they do, and they own everything. Like, I don't think many people understand. If you go into Sainsbury's and you look around at the brands, you will struggle to find 10 brands that aren't owned by the same company.
Yeah.
The whole thing's owned. The same company that owns Sainsbury's owns every brand. They own everything. So if they want forever profits, which they do, they're not going to do that without
owning everything.
Well, and also, you have to take that money from somewhere. If they can make you poor so they can get richer, they will. If they own all the assets, they want inflation. They want inflation. They don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care you can't feed your family. Why would they?
You need to start to realize that the traditional methods of creating wealth, which are advertised to you, are a scam. The idea that you can just work really hard, save up, get a mortgage, and in 35 years pay the house off, and then you'll be rich. That's not real. That's what your parents did, right? The average cost of a house during your parents' era was like 4 times the wages or 5 times the yearly wage or something. Now it's completely out of control.
Yeah.
It's completely out of control. And patience is another thing I'll make a big point. Patience is a huge enemy to getting rich. I don't care what these Gary Vee and these dorks, because Gary Vee's a nerd. Gary Vee's a nerd, right? He may have some money, right? But if I were to grab him by his neck, hey bro, you gotta be really tough and you gotta really work hard. Shut the fuck up. Right? So when all these dorks are talking about patience is what they tell the slaves to convince the slaves to keep being slaves. That's what it is. If I was in charge of the world, right? And I had a working class of slaves, which is what the working class is. I don't use that word slaves unironically, right? You're slaves, and I'll tell you why. If I can create something from thin air, and I can create unlimited amounts of it, and I can make you give up your life for this thing, you're my slave. If I could create dollars from thin air, unlimited amounts, and I can make you sacrifice your life.
Fiat currency.
And make you sacrifice your life for a tiny percentage of what I can create from thin air, you are my slave. Because even if you say no, I'll say, I'll give you some more. Oh, okay. Oh, here's some more of the free thing I make. Here, go do it. Go clean the streets, idiot. You're a slave, right? So the slaves, what they do to keep the slaves being slaves is they advertise patience. Don't worry. Here's what you do. You go to school, you go to college, you go to university, you get in debt, you get a mortgage, you get in more debt. You work really hard. Don't worry, your life's shit now, but in the future it'll be good. Don't worry, a good day's coming. You might retire with a 401k. Keep working, keep going, slave. You can do it. Patience is how they trick you into keep being a slave.
Yep.
I turned myself from no money to my first million in 2 years to 30 million 3 years later. That's how fast you can make money if you're about money, if you're about it, right? So I've never believed in patience. You gotta forget the patience. You gotta forget the people who
Money loves speed, man.
love speed.
Yeah.
You gotta forget the people who aren't about money around you. It's gotta be all you think about, all you talk about. You gotta start producing. You gotta start attracting attention one way or another. And if you do all those things, you will start to make some money.
I've told this story on other podcasts before, but I've been an envious person. I've told this story because it was so pertinent to me about how most people don't care. I was walking to school. I was walking to sixth form college in Luton. I was 16, 17 years old. And I used to have to walk about an hour each day to school, and it was raining, and I was walking. And I was walking with 3 of my friends, and a Ferrari, it was an F430, I think, pulled up at the lights, made a bunch of noise, and I was standing there, and I watched it, and then the light went green, and he just tore off. I said to my friends, I was like, bro, how do we get Ferraris? And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, my mom is on a council estate, single mother. She raises 3 kids on 300 pounds a month. We can barely afford food. He has 200 grand for a car. Liquid for a car. Something is broken. None of the teachers at school have Ferraris. None of our university professors have Ferraris. No one else I know has a Ferrari. What do we have to do to break the matrix and find the money? This is all a lie. I want a Ferrari. And my friends were like, don't know. That's why I have
Wrong friends.
Well, no, that's why I have Ferraris and they don't. That's why I now have 33 Ferraris. Because I was envious. I was envious of this man. Most people don't care.
But you turned envy into learning how to figure it out.
Well, I turned envy into anger, and anger is power. But what we have people doing now, because they don't believe in themselves, because the matrix has dampened their soul, when they feel envious, because they want to level the playing field, which is all envy is. Instead of trying to elevate themselves, they try and drag others down. So when people look at my life and they're envious of me, what they should say is, he's truly from the most humble possible socioeconomic beginnings. He is a person of color from a council estate, a single mother household. He is the bracket of criminal. He's at the bottom, and he made it up to the highest echelons. He's on the phone with Elon Musk and his ability. He can do it, I can do it. But they don't believe in themselves.
Let me tell you something. When I was broke, and like I said, I have a bunch of money now. I was broke. This is not like I was broke, but from like a middle-class family. I was broke, single mother, public government housing, no car. I had to run to the gym, broke. When I was flat broke, the only of my friends I'd sit around and talk to were my friends who would talk about money. The guys who would sit and talk about video games or sit around and talk about football, I wouldn't hang around them. I only used to sit and talk to my friends, talk about money. None of us had any money, right? But if we walked into a coffee shop and we bought coffee, we would then sit there over our coffee and analyze, how did this coffee shop make us give them our money? Because that's what's happened. We've given our money to this coffee shop. Why? Did we really want coffee? Where is it located? Is it a convenient location? Is it because of the brand of the coffee? Is it because the waitress is cute? Why are we in this particular coffee shop? Why didn't we go to that one? Why are we in this one? If we were to open up a coffee shop next door, how could we outcompete this one? What's the rent for this place? What's the margin on a cup of coffee? Everyone in here's a man. If you notice, everyone in here's a man in a business suit. Why is the person serving not a hot girl? Why is it a guy? Do they sell sandwiches? Do they sell cake? Like, start to actually think. Think about the money. And then if you do that every single time you spend money on anything, you're gonna end up realizing there's tons of gaps. There's gaps in the market everywhere. You'll start to sit there and go, you know what? I could open up a coffee shop right next door to this coffee shop. Change this, and this, and murder this place. But people don't think about it. People just give their money away all day, and it never even crosses their mind about how they were convinced to give their money away.
Yeah.
You know? Because if you want to get rich, you're not the Federal Reserve. You can't create money from the sky. You need to convince other people to give you their money. So every time you give your money away, work out why.
The people who are rich now, their bloodlines will be rich for a very long time. And the people who are poor now, if they don't get rich soon, in the next 10 years or so, they're never going to